modern media initiative that sort of pushing the other way to try and pull together these good laws around the world to make that a model. So individual nation states can try and upgrade their laws to be more libertine or more protective of the rights of sources and journalists and publishers to publish.
But the harmonization is inevitable.
The harmonization, I think, is inevitable.
All right.
The only question is, what will it be?
Because as long as we are not harmonized, there is an opportunity to sort of slip between the gaps, right? Between the laws and the structures. And WikiLeaks is using that, of course, in Sweden and Belgium. But you think that even China and the US, potential adversaries, will eventually sort of the political...
They have already done some harm.
Right.
WTO. Some aspects of intellectual property or patent law. That's a type of harmonization that's occurring on the what rights do people have to publish certain information.
Right.
And strong economic incentives to do that, because whenever these laws are different, there's an arbitrage opportunity, and then one nation state will complain that another nation state is sort of exploiting the difference between these two. So they will harmonize. The only question is to what.
Right. As long as they're not harmonized, of course, everyone working for these principles should use the fact that they are different and hope that
they can be, they could harmonize to the best laws.
Right.
It's perfectly possible. And I mean, that's what WikiLeaks is at the moment. By placing servers in different countries, we are sort of, in terms of our publishing operations and our source protection operations, we are doing that harmonization ourselves internally, where we take the best laws of many countries and give them to every country.
Right.
So we are able to do that by having this multi-jurisdictional publishing network. But that can also be done in law. Countries can harmonize up instead of harmonizing down, and they can harmonize to the best freedoms and the strongest publishing protections.
Exactly.
They don't need to harmonize down to the worst.
Yeah, right.
But which way that goes will depend upon what people support, where the incentives are, and where the lobby pressures are. It's very interesting at the moment because this is up in the air. And the ball really is up in the air. It could go either way.
And WikiLeaks, of course, gives an incentive to harmonize upwards because it's out there, and as long as it cannot be stopped. So it's really essential that... Now, WikiLeaks is... I don't know the technology behind it, but I assume that it's replicated and that it's hard to technically shut it down. So as long as the internet is operational in some form or another, it will be up there. But the threat is more sort of organizational than technical, isn't it? Or legal, and sort of the threats are...
The threat is more, at the moment, is sort of death by 1,000 cuts. So it's the expense in running all this, and the expense in defending ourselves against these legal attacks, which we managed to do successfully. But there's a cost in this, and as an organisation grows, it has scaling problems, and we're sort of being a victim of our own success in some ways. In that we're receiving a vast number of extremely important documents and videos, but we don't have the resources to go through them all, and that pains us terribly, because the promise we give to our sources is that we will not only protect them, but we will try and maximize the impact of their material, so that their efforts haven't gone to waste. And so every day that we sit on material and delay publishing is to some degree a betrayal of that promise that we make our sources. But we get a lot of material and we only have a finite number of people, and a finite number of resources. So we just cannot publish as fast as we are receiving material. And that means that our reform impact is being limited, although it's still very good, but it has been limited by that inability to get through material as fast as we'd like. And we did go, oh, well, what if you just instantly sort of publish everything you receive? Become a sort of file site and you just publish material. So we did some early experiments on this line. The problem is that the bad drives out the good, and that if you commit false material or just junk, or people republishing something that has already been published before, hasn't been censored, it's just unpopular because people don't care about the issue.
Right.
If you put all this in the same bowl with really significant documents like the main manuals for Guantanamo Bay we published, or documents exposing billions of dollars worth of corruption in Kenya, or tens of billions of dollars of money laundering, money shuffling by Barclays Bank. If you put these sort of just random information in the same bowl, it means that the strong material has no impact. So really you do need people to actually go through this and say, yes, this is a genuine document, and we've checked it out, and this is what it means, and it's important, and it hasn't been published before. That's how we're managing to have an important impact, is by giving some authority to this material.
Right. What you're touching on there, of course, also is people, the users of WikiLeaks, knowing that what they're seeing and viewing is WikiLeaks. Because I've already seen that you've had imposters on Facebook trying to be WikiLeaks without actually being WikiLeaks. And I liked the group on Facebook, and I found out it was the wrong group. It wasn't sort of the official the WikiLeaks. So how do the individual make sure, both now sort of practically, but also for the long term, for generations, that you know what you're viewing is really WikiLeaks and not some sort of imposter or someone putting a filter over it, or
yeah, so that's hard. I mean, we have an SSL page, and go to encrypted connection wikileaks.org, but of course it's possible that they take down a domain name. We have many other alternative domain names as well to deal with Chinese censorship. This is actually quite an interesting problem in cryptography. How do you verify someone is who they say that they are, even though the internet address might change? So at the moment, the answer is sort of social. At the very moment, the answer is easy. Go to wikileaks.org. That is us. Unless we one day lose that domain name. There was an attack on it in February 2008 by Swiss Bank, and we lost it for 10 days. They didn't put up a different one, but we managed to produce a counter case and get it back. But there's, we have tendrils and networks, different mediums, Twitter and elsewhere. So if you search around enough of these are going to point to the real place. And our cryptographic certificate is something that's a little bit harder to fake. It would require some fabrication in the United States for a company that specializes in producing these certificates. That's an interesting question.
Right.